My name's Daniel Bushell. People turn backs on big tech as the boycott movement gains ground. Coming up.
Ways to stop surveillance as the NSA scandal grows. The UN Human Rights Rapporteur tells us Israel's, quote, genocidal. And why the answer to 1984 could be 1776.
The founding fathers, writes author Tony Cartolucci, didn't drink their oppressors' tea when they found products were fundamentally wrong. They simply boycotted them. Independence Day, 2 centuries on, Cartolucci notes, once more, the major products are acting against the public. This 4th of July, Restore the Fourth across 50 cities called to bring back the Fourth Amendment of the Constitution. In 3 days, 500,000 people have written to Congress through Stop Watching Us. The Restore the Fourth movement demands an end to warrantless surveillance of every person. Having been exposed, passing everything to the government, big tech giants have already expressed fears over a boycott. People have moved to encrypted email like Thunderbird Enigmail, operating systems such as Linux, and browsers like Tor. Let's speak to James Corbett of the Corbett Report. Great to talk to you. Why should those who haven't switched worry about their every move being tracked?
Philosopher Jeremy Bentham, who wrote about the idea of a perfect prison called the panopticon, which is the idea of having a prison cell that was built in a circular fashion so that all of the cells would be on the outside, and in the center of the prison you'd have a guard tower where the prisoners couldn't see into the guard tower, so they couldn't see if they were being watched at any particular time. And so the prisoners would start to act as if they were being watched at all times. The revelations about what the NSA is doing, it does play into that agenda, because now there are people who realize they are being listened to and spied on at all times and are adjusting their speech accordingly. They might be afraid to speak on certain issues because even if they are innocent, they feel that it's wrong to speak out against the government.
Boycotts are taking off with corporate nightmares like this. The Boycott app shows the causes brands support and leading boycotts. The current #1 targets Monsanto, teaming up with government to block even labelling of GMOs. Monsanto denies the charge, saying it can help end world hunger. Forbes notes it's been voted the most evil corporation on the planet, under competition from Britain's most boycotted firm, Nestle. 4,000 children are dying every day because they're not being breastfed, warns UNICEF. Nestle says it does accept breast is best, but it spends billions on lies about inferior and dangerous milk substitute powders that now dominate much of the world, notes campaign group Baby Milk Action. Its coordinator Mike Brady joins us. Thanks a lot for coming on. Why is Nestle so despised?
Nestle, which we think is the worst of the companies, it promotes its baby milk around the world, claiming it protects babies. It has these logos on them, highlighting specific ingredients, which, as I say, the evidence doesn't support the claims made for them. But they have this overarching claim that the formula will protect babies. But in truth, if a baby is fed on formula, it's more likely to become sick than a breastfed baby. And in conditions of poverty, it's more likely to die. Nestle is refusing to stop this practice. And this is not just an issue of unsafe water. It's if a child is not breastfed, then the protection that breastfeeding provides is not there. Even in industrialised countries such as the UK, babies fed on formula are more likely to become sick.
Physicist Stephen Hawking's the latest to boycott Israel over its occupation of Palestine. Coldplay's Stevie Wonder and U2 are among thousands of public figures who refused to go there, despite Israel offering extra money for breaking the boycott. But Alicia Keys spent the 4th of July singing at the Nokia Arena here in Tel Aviv. She said she went ahead to unify audiences in peace and love. These music fans from Palestine made a video of their quest for unity. After buying concert tickets, they couldn't even speak to someone at Israeli walls and checkpoints within Palestine territories. Phone calls didn't get anywhere either.
As a human, I would like to come to your concert. You can see with this Israel apartheid wall that is completely double than the wall of Berlin that prevents us from being able to access to anywhere. We are here imprisoned in a very big jail, and which is the reality of the situation. It's not about peace or something. It's only about apartheid.
Let's talk to Omar Barghouti, founding member of the Campaign for the Academic and Cultural Boycott of Israel. Thanks very much for joining us. At what stage is the movement now?
Just at the very end of last year, the ANC, the African National Congress, the ruling party of South Africa, endorsed BDS at their national conference. An extremely symbolic, extremely important political move by the ANC. They made the brand South Africa so toxic that no one wants to touch South African potatoes, oranges, wine, you name it. You see South Africa and you stay away. You see apartheid. Now we want people around the world, when they see Made in Israel, they see occupation, they see the wall, they see apartheid. If you look at the BBC Globe Scan poll of this year, 2013, it shows that Israel is still in the bottom 4 countries in the world in terms of negative perceptions. It's competing with North Korea on the 3rd or 4th most negatively perceived country on earth.
Yeah, what's the situation on the ground? What shortages are you seeing from Israel's blockade?
Things like chocolates, pencils, crayons, things that you cannot even imagine why they're banned, are banned from entering Gaza by Israel. I know this, my 2 daughters are musicians, and their fellow musicians in Gaza, music students, quite often cannot get their guitars or their whatever other instrument they're using, their violins, because of the siege. Israel does not allow musical instruments into the Gaza Strip. According to a BBC report, it revealed that Israel was counting calories going into Gaza per capita. Imagine, I mean, since the 1930s in Europe, we have not heard of a regime counting calories. They don't want thousands of people dying en masse, but they want them to die slowly. Dov Weissglass actually said it. We have to put the Palestinians on a diet to bring them to the brink of starvation, but without killing them.
We must cause the Palestinians to become thinner, but not die.
Public pressure has already forced major investors to pull out. The UN Human Rights Rapporteur warns a boycott may be the only thing that can stop, quote, genocidal Israeli policies that are slouching towards a Palestinian Holocaust. Professor Falk, thank you very much for joining us. Can you explain such serious concerns?
When you target a group, an ethnic group, and inflict this kind of punishment upon them, you are in effect nurturing a kind of criminal intention that is genocidal, not genocide, but genocidal in its nature.
Companies seen as supporting war crimes are targeted. Sites like Consumers Against War list the multinationals who bankrolled the US president's campaign. Since the invasion of Iraq, boycotts of such firms have shot up, notes the magazine Ethical Consumer. The same conglomerates pay so low, notes HuffPost. Employees are forced to rely on soup kitchens and other welfare. The Tax Justice Network found these multinationals are hiding twice the US economy, $32 trillion, in offshore tax paradises, bankrupting cities throughout the US. Activist Eric Draitser, great to have you on. What will this lead to?
These corporations are essentially defrauding our countries of the tax revenue that belongs to us. Remember that the story that came out about Apple and the amount of taxes that they have dodged in the United States, this should be a national scandal. If we didn't have so many concurrent national scandals, this should be the big one, because Apple has essentially deprived the United States of tens of billions of dollars of tax revenue. If you want to get a sense of what the world will look like with this system continuing in this direction, take a look at the city of Detroit, take a look at Camden, New Jersey, Patterson, New Jersey, many other places in the United States.
Yeah, so where can people start with alternatives?
Your local farmer's market. It might not seem terribly glamorous or incredibly revolutionary action, but it is actually quite powerful. What you're doing is, instead of giving your money to Walmart or to Target or to wherever you might buy your food, you're giving it and to build up the agricultural infrastructure that's necessary in the local community.
James Corbett, what can the boycott achieve? How powerful is this?
Truly, it is the only possible solution for fundamentally transforming the society. To fundamentally strike at the root of the issue, the people once again have to understand that the power really does come from their consent and their willingness to go along with the system. And when they withdraw that, whether that be from a specific company or from a specific industry or from the government at large or whatever context that's in, when they withdraw their consent and actually put themselves out there to protest against what's happening, en masse, it can truly change the course of history. And we've seen this time and again with all sorts of movements, whether it be Gandhi bringing down the British Empire in India or the civil rights movement in the United States, or all sorts of protest movements that started out sometimes as boycotts or pickets against the Montgomery bus company or things of that nature that can have truly world-changing effect.
Yeah, what if people are fed up with the government, both Republicans and Democrats, using the same drones, mass surveillance, and all the rest?
Withdrawing your consent from the democratic processes that claim to be the ruling authority in, for example, the United States context. And that comes from having more people not voting in an election than voting is a clear sign that that there is that withdrawal of consent. And when we start to reach those types of levels and people are either writing in none of the above or withdrawing from the voting process altogether, I think you can start to see that there's a type of way that you can boycott government policies to at least get it to respond to what's happening. When it loses the legitimization that comes from these phony elections that are put on every 4 years, I think people will start to understand that the system itself really does lack the authority to rule over the country.
Consumer rights hero Ralph Nader said if a boycott hurts sales just 2%, it has won. The organizing power of the web means it's just a question of choosing the target.